Hello and welcome to this week's Pastoral Conversation. I'm Pastor Sally Hanson and I'm joined today by Pastor Stephen Bowman. During this season of Epiphany, we continue to lift up and look at the global church. I know here in the middle of January is often the week of Christian unity around the world. And as a part of the Epiphany season, we continue to lift up the global church too. So today we are traveling to the continent of Africa and specifically to the Sudan. And I understand you've been there.
Yes, I have. Juba, South Sudan. When I first came to St. Luke's, I noticed in the hallway your different pictures of your different cabinets, and I noticed big pictures of two South Sudanese missionaries that the ELCA has sent, Pastor Maween Arik and Pastor Wal Reet. And they're both friends of mine, and I have been a part of their ministries for a long time. If you got a minute, let me just kind of set this up. So here's what's going on. South Sudan was a part of Sudan.
Okay.
They were rebelling against Sudan. Christians are in the south, Muslims to the north. It's not as easy as that, but that was part of it. And all of these refugees came. They were called the Lost Boys.
Okay.
Of Sudan. You might remember that.
Yep.
They learned Lutheran in the refugee camps in Ethiopia, where Lutheran World Relief was sponsor and Lutheran World Federation. And then when they were resettled here, they learned the word Lutheran from Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Services. So we resettled them in places like Fargo and Minnesota and Michigan and Omaha, Nebraska. There are about 30 South Sudanese ELCA Lutheran congregations because they heard the L word, Lutheran, as a part of their journey. So that's the first part. So they would come to our churches and hope to get welcomed the way Lutherans have welcomed them on their journey. So meanwhile, South Sudan became independent. South Sudan does not have a Lutheran church.
Sure. Okay.
So the ELCA, through global mission and domestic mission, worked with the South Sudanese community here in the ELCA to help sponsor in South Sudan a new Lutheran church with the Lutheran World Federation, a new communion. The Episcopalians were very helpful in this. Our ecumenical friends were a part of this. And meanwhile, it happened in the middle of a civil war.
Oh.
So, and the two tribes, Dinka and Nuer, were just clashing. And it was called at the time, a few years ago, the worst humanitarian disaster in the world. And so bloody conflict, lots of poverty and hunger and disease that came out of that and so on. Well, the two tribes that were fighting make up the ELCA Lutheran Church here. So when we decided that with Sudanese community that we would go to South Sudan and start a church and a community center, we then decided that we needed to have Sudanese leaders here meet, and we met in Chicago, and I convened that meeting, Dinka and Nuer, and they came up with a peace plan here and a declaration of peace that then undergirded our work in South Sudan. So in Juba, when I was there a couple of years ago, we found land for a hospital, and I'll tell that story another time.
Yeah.
And we've started our first Lutheran church in Juba. I preached at the groundbreaking, first time I ever preached in 107-degree weather. And I'll describe
investments, I'm sure, right?
I'll describe that another time too. But today, hundreds are worshiping in Juba. And Wal Reet is working in the camps in Ethiopia. And we have 3 worship sites there that are worshiping several hundred people each. And meanwhile, the hospital is now doing the first fistula surgeries in the whole country of South Sudan. So that's it in a nutshell. And of course, I would love to unpack these stories and hope to someday. But so that we're supporting that extends the reach from Park Ridge to Juba, South Sudan, because we are one strong ELCA church.
Absolutely. And a huge portion of our sponsorship that comes for that is our endowment. So if you have an outreach that you're interested in sponsoring in our community and around the world, I would encourage you to apply for one of those endowment grants. Those applications are due here at the end of January. A couple other things to lift up in our community. On February 13th, we're going to be doing the Super Bowl of Caring, to be able to have a number of people be able to bring non-perishable food items to fill our food pantry as we celebrate the Super Bowl, one of the first American holidays that people claim as a holiday without ever actually claiming it. But I think it's a huge part of who we are as a culture. And I love that we've been able to find ways to continue to give back, even as we celebrate with our friends and family, whoever's in the Super Bowl, whether you're a fan of the game or the commercials or the halftime show. It's one of those things for everybody. This summer, we have 11 that are headed to the ELCA youth gathering. So in the near future, you're going to start seeing all the different fundraisers coming together. We have some funds to raise, somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000. We have a variety of ideas that we're putting together for that, but please be on the lookout for ways that you can help participate and support our youth as they continue to grow in faith in this very unique day and age. Some general church updates. Our annual meeting is on January the 30th at 1 o'clock on Zoom. It's on Zoom so that you can hear better. We're finding that with our hybrid options, there's often, it's tough to hear people depending on which side of the Zoom screen you're on. Additionally, the offering envelopes for this year are out in the atrium. So if you are in the neighborhood and want to pick yours up during the week or on a Sunday morning, please do so. And if you see that your neighbors is still sitting there, if you wouldn't mind grabbing those as well, as they are actually pretty expensive to mail. So we'd like to try to avoid that as much as possible. Any other updates from you this week? How are things going? Is the transition at St. Luke on Belmont? How was your MLK holiday and being able to preach an amazingly powerful sermon this weekend here at St. Luke's?
Thank you. What I loved about the worship too was the music. It was beautiful. Anne is wonderful on the keyboard, and I love the songs we sang. Give Me Jesus is one of my favorite gospel songs. Things are okay. I'm trying to hold down 2 full-time jobs, doing it part-time at 2 vibrant churches. And I'm hoping that in another month or so, they'll have their path to the new pastor on Belmont.
Okay.
So I can concentrate full-time here, and that's when we want to bring our listening season to an opening. Meanwhile, I am doing one-on-ones with people. I've done about 10 so far. Just listening. I want to hear what you're looking forward to. What are some big issues in your mind? What do we need to be thinking about as we get ready for the next pastor? Where's God calling us? So I'm looking forward to spending time with you in discernment. Meanwhile, God's peace be with you.
And also with you. And we'll see you next time for our pastoral conversation. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.